like to welcome you to my show at the Winchester, and I'm happy to showcase some new oil and a direction I'm going in, doing some larger oils. Pretty well known for watercolor and doing children's books, but get really excited about painting larger in oils. I've done some large watercolors, about 4 by 6 feet, but they become a bit of a nightmare to frame and move around and dealing with glass and worrying about the weight of it. So, oil just seemed a really good direction to go in. And people might ask why oil over acrylic, and really a lot of it's because we have a septic field and I don't want to be putting the acrylics down the drain, and we have a vegetable garden on top of the septic field, so not good to poison yourself with acrylics. So with the oils I recycle all the things. So I don't know, I just really enjoy working, doing landscapes, especially in oil, because the landscape is so large, and the beauty of oils is you don't have to always frame them. I really enjoy the wraparound canvas, deep canvas look. Much easier to deal with in terms of transportation and not having to deal with framing. Just again being practical. So yeah. So this show I have one really large oil, about 4 by 6, and these are 48 by 48. This one is the Inside Passage. I teach watercolor on cruise ships, and Alaska is my favorite place to go. So coming down the Inside Passage, I'm always looking for material to paint, and this area in particular is near Alert Bay, and just the light was right and the island was right, and just could use the colors that I enjoy painting with. So yeah, that's that. In my show too, I've got 5 watercolors from my latest book, Island Santa, which was commissioned by the Norgard Foundation to raise funds for Janice Place, which is a place near Victoria General Hospital where families can go if they have sick children. It's like Ronald McDonald House in Vancouver, and so it's really been a wonderful community place. And Janice Edroff has raised $5 million, and so the book is really based in honor of Janice Place. So Kerry Norgarden is the fellow who used to own this boat called, it was called the Blue Fjord, but it's based on a real boat built in 1923, which was originally an RCMP boat used for a jail, and it was owned by Alexander Morton, and then various people have owned it, but the last owner was a fellow who worked in this boat. He went around to a lot of the little islands around and giving presents to children in First Nations villages and children who might not get out for get many presents at Christmas time. So he was a real sort of philanthropist. So it was very exciting when this boat would come into the island and give presents to the children. So this book was based on that premise. This painting is titled Reflective Dancers, and I was really intrigued by the colors and the reflection as much as anything. So this is one of my larger paintings, and I just really get excited painting this large in oil. And I scuba dive, and I was on a boat up at Port Alberni Inlet and saw this boat and the reflection, so that was where the initial scene came from, and went to my studio and painted away, and just was happy with the results, so wanted to include it in my show. So one of my favorite areas in the whole earth is the West Coast Trail, and I was fortunate enough to be asked to be an artist who was flown up by helicopter to different lighthouses during the time when they were trying to get rid of lighthouse keepers. One of the lighthouse keepers decided to get artists and lighthouse keepers together and do paintings as a fundraiser to promote keeping lighthouse keepers on lighthouses. So I was lucky enough to went up by helicopter to Carmana Lighthouse and met the lighthouse keeper and became friends, and been going up there many times, and a lot of my paintings are based on my trips on the West Coast Trail. Hike it sometimes now. Sometimes I go in by boat, but it's the most beautiful trail I think in the world-class trail, and it's amazing because I don't think many Canadians do it. I always meet lots of Europeans, but it's this jewel in our own backyard. So the weather, it's usually raining foggy, but it's beautiful. And if you're lucky, you'll find a glass ball like I painted here, right on the beach. They come over from Japan, and yeah, so it's a treasure. So it's called Glass Treasure, this particular watercolor here. It's a painting I did based on a trip to the Antarctic. I teach watercolor on cruise ships, as I said earlier, and I was lucky enough to be on a cruise ship for a month, sailing from Buenos Aires down to the Antarctic and then back. And it was incredible to see these icebergs that are as big as islands. Some of them had penguins on them, some didn't. And the light looks maybe a bit surreal, but the atmosphere is so clear down there, there's no pollution. So you get this crisp sort of color contrast. And so I'm going to be doing a lot of paintings based on that trip. Stormy seas, penguins and seals and eagles and incredible icebergs. Just they're a whole entity into themselves. So everybody should try and make that on their bucket list to get down to the Antarctic. It's changing. Things are melting, and they're also. When I was on this, it was on a cruise ship, so they're not allowing big cruise ships to go down there as much anymore because their worry is partly who's going to rescue you if you hit an iceberg down the cruise ship, and also there's a lot of question about the territory, who owns the Antarctic, and so there's a lot of government regulation down there, so the area is changing. So I was lucky to see it when I did, and we passed one other ship the whole time we were down there. It was quite extraordinary, and so we went in the Antarctic summer, so it was 0 degrees, which was quite comfortable as long as you wore a hat. But it was really very sunny, which I wasn't expecting, but just a fantastic place to visit and extremely paintable.
It left out. Yeah. It's a long flight, isn't it?
We're going to South Georgia.
Yeah. We'll say, why are we leaving this place?
It's distinct personality.
Yeah.
And exists within the idea like
can't. No, we can. She's say with Manish. I do. I like. I'm boring because I want to be to not talk honestly.
It's like having a baby.
Yeah.
But the baby never grows.
So how your she can eat by herself, or do you have to feed her?
Yeah.
Hello.
Is your desk?
Yes.
What's your job?
My job. Huh?
What's your job at the desk?
I just check email.
Not enjoying the summer?
Yes. Yeah. So now we think we might shoot.
I hear some noise, but like that.
Manish pick up after he finished work. After work, he pick up